7, verse 4, then their confusion will occur. Looking at the clock and seeing where I want to go next, let's talk about their confusion. As soon as they post a watchman, their confusion will occur. Confusion as in being confounded, not knowing what to do. How did God stop the building of the Tower of Babel? He confused things. Now, confusion, their confusion is going to come when the watchman was posted. When I went to bed on the 7th of August, I thought to myself, what's going to happen tomorrow, the 8th of August? I expected something to happen because it was the 8th month, it was the 8th day of the month of the 8th year. And lo and behold, according to one radio broadcast down here, I don't know, I don't have two witnesses on it, but at 8 minutes after 8, on August 8, 2008, Russia invaded Georgia. And this invasion happened on a high holy day, the New World Order's high holy day. It was the day that the Chinese Olympics started. Let me put it this way. It was the day when all the world leaders accumulated over in Mao Zedong's filthy, vile, red communist China. I'm going to stop here and go back a little bit, a few years. I remember years ago when Nixon was going out there and making his little trip over to China, open up the doors. Everybody thought it was so wonderful. Remember that? They're just as commie today as they were then. There was a day before we all became communists over here that we wouldn't do aid and trade with a communist country. And now we gather on this high holy day, the day that the Olympics opened, the 8th of August. This is where the world leaders come together, and they're using the Olympics to bring the world together in unity. And lo and behold, what happens? An invasion takes place over here in Georgia. Now, there's going to be people talking about why it was done, this and that, and it's all Babel. Until you understand that there is a god of this world called Satan. He has a kingdom, and his children are building a Tower of Babel called the New World Order, and God is involved here. It's about time we give our God some credit instead of saying, well, they're planning on doing this, and they did this, and they did that. I want to tell you something. I am of the opinion, this is my speculation, that God came down on the 8th day of August, and he confused them. Just about the time they're getting to the very pinnacle of success in having a one-world government, they have a war starting. And it's been downplayed over here, but it's a very significant event that took place over there. Very significant. And it happened on their high holy day, and I believe it happened because God has confused things. He said, when you post your watchmen, then their confusion will come. And I think more confusion is coming. Let's go back to Micah 7:4. And I want to read on. I'm looking at the clock and looking at my notes. Hopefully this will all kind of tie together. But I think I can bring this out in Micah 7. It says, the best of them is like a briar, the most upright like a thorn hedge. The day when you post a watchman, your punishment will come. Now that, by the way, is, I believe, the punishment of the house of Israel. Then their confusion will occur. And we'll go to the next verse here in a moment, but I want to say this, that what is coming in this day of the Lord events upon God's people, I did something with my grandsons this week. We had a horse up there at the ranch. It's not my horse. I'm feeding it for somebody else. But if I'm going to have somebody else's horse, I want to be able to catch it and put it out on pasture. I got this horse in the corral there. I can't catch her. And she's a broke horse. And it's a pretty decent horse, for that matter. I had Richard to go try to catch her. You couldn't catch her, right? She'd turn her back to you, and I was getting very disgusted with this whole thing. And so I took my grandboys, and this is just an illustration. And I got a buggy whip. Now, I'd never done this before. but it'll tie into what I think is what's coming in this land. Now, I'd never done it, but my daddy told me about it. He'd done it, called whip breaking a horse. And I said to my grandchildren, I said, now, don't you ever make God whip break you. Now, I know the horse whisperer says you get them in a round pen. First of all, I don't have a round pen. Second of all, you let them run around and around and around, and how long, I don't know, and I didn't have the time for that either. But I just put him in a square pen, not too big a square pen at that. And I got in that pen with a buggy whip, and I began to whip that horse so hard. And that horse went up in the quarter, and I bring that buggy whip down, and I whacked him this way, and I whacked him that way, and the horse turned around and pretty near run over me, didn't he, boys? That made me madder. It threw me up against the side of the corral as he went by. I hit him again, and he got in the other corner. I whacked him again, and he tried to climb out over the top. And when he trying to climb out, I whacked him, wham, wham. I'm getting out of air, Ben. I'm really whacking this horse. But every time he'd turn around and face me, I'd stop whipping him. I want to tell you, within 10 minutes, now, boys, is this true? That horse walked right up to me, and I could just pet him and put a halter on him. Because he learned that when he turned his butt to me, he was going to get whipped. But when he turned and faced me and came to me, oh, I know it's something terrible. I should be doing some whispering and let him run around and take up 3/4 of my day. I don't do it that way. And God doesn't do it that way. There comes a point he says, enough is enough. And I said to my boys, don't you make God horsewhip you, but he's about to punish. He said, the day you post a watchman, your punishment will come. He's going to punish this land. Sin is everywhere because Satan has been everywhere planting his seed. And it's the parable of the tares and the wheat, and now sin is everywhere, and God's going to cleanse the land, and that's right where we are at. Does that make sense? He's going to cleanse it. He's going to do it. Back to Micah 7. I want to get this part, and we'll go on. Verse 5. Do not trust in a neighbor. Do not have confidence in a friend. From her who lies in your bosom, guard your lips. For son treats father contemptuously, daughter rises up against her mother, daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies are the men of his own household. But as for me, I will watch expectantly for the Lord. I will wait for the God of my salvation. My God will hear me. And this is the part I want you to get. Notice, when you see all these things happen, you should be expecting the Lord. But he says, do not rejoice over me, O my enemy. Though I fall, I will rise. Though I dwell in darkness, the Lord is a light for me. I will bear the indignation of the Lord because I have sinned against him until he pleads my case and executes judgment for me. He will bring me out to the light, and I will see his righteousness. Then my enemy will see, and shame will cover her. Shame will cover her who said to me, where is the Lord your God? My eyes will look on her at the time she will be trampled down like mire in the streets. Who's this her? Who's this woman? The opponent. So I don't want you to think I've forgotten about the Jezebel series. Jezebel was trampled down in the street like mire. And I believe we're dealing now with this whole system. It's a matriarchal system. It has to do with this New World Order, and it's in this matriarchal system, it's a female thing. Let me go next to Matthew chapter 13, verse 33. This is just my suspicions. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But Jesus said prior to his coming that the kingdom would be leavened, completely leavened. Leaven represents evil, sin everywhere. But this is what he said here in Matthew 13:33. He spoke another parable to them. The kingdom of heaven is like leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 pecks of meal until it was all leavened. I think that's the woman that